Hi guys, it's Mrs. Vasquez here again, and today we're going to be talking about point of view. The other day we talked about theme and how theme connects with the actions, the thoughts, and the feelings of characters, and today we're moving on to point of view using the same text. Sometimes a dream needs a push, but today we're going to be talking about point of view and connecting that with characters' actions, thoughts, and feelings. So I'm going to ask you to look at this picture, and for my students who are looking at this, I know you recognize this picture because we used it earlier in the year. I'm going to ask you to pause the video for a second and just think to yourself, what do you see in this picture? I think you'll be very surprised at what you see. Maybe you see the same thing from the last time. Maybe you see something a little bit different. So go ahead and pause the video and think about what you see. Okay, so you've had time to look at the picture, and I'm sure that most people are going to have different answers. Some people say that when they are looking at this picture, they can see an old lady with a hood and a feather sticking out of the hood. That's what I see when I look at it. But some people also say that they see a young lady turned to the side with a hood and a feather sticking out of her hat. And you can also see like a little bit of her nose and her eyelashes. It just depends on your point of view. And that's what we're trying to understand today, that when you are reading a text, sometimes you're listening to the point of view of directly from a character, and sometimes you're listening to a point of view from an author that is not directly related to the story or to the text, but is just telling you information or a story. Some people are lucky enough to be able to see both the old lady and the young woman. But again, it all depends on your point of view. Moving on, what is point of view? Point of view is the way we think and feel about something. So I know the first thing that might pop into your head is, well, wait a minute, that sounds a lot like my opinion. Well, in some cases, point of view and opinion are connected. Because when we're talking about first person point of view, and that means the character is telling the story from his or her point of view. So you may have read books gone back a long time ago, Junie B. Jones or Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Those books are written in first person point of view. So for Junie B. Jones, for example, we are hearing her stories, her life directly from her perspective or her point of view. She's telling us her actions, she's telling us her thoughts, she's telling us her feelings. One of the ways or clues that you can determine if a story or a text is being told in first person is by looking for words like I, me, we. All of those words are clues that this is being told from a character in the story and from their point of view. Moving on, we have point of view from a third person. And most of the time, we are usually looking at texts that are written in third person point of view. And what that means is the person is not involved in the actual story, but is telling the actions, the thoughts, and the feelings of all the characters. So you're hearing the point of view from all the characters rather than just from one character's perspective. So again, looking for those clues, you can look for he, she, they. All of those words are clues that you're probably reading a text from a third person point of view. And remember, the clue is for third person that you're hearing a perspective or point of view from all characters or most characters and not just from one person like Junie B. Jones. Okay, so I'm going to give you a short example of first person. And as I said to you before, first person tells the story through the eyes of a character. And in this short little text that we have here, I added this onto a PowerPoint slide so you can see what it looks like when an author is using first person and how that might look. So one part of the text I really want to focus on is right in here. So this is what I'm going to be reading to you. So listen closely. I cringed at the disrespectful nickname. Liam was a nice kid, but sometimes he forgot to be polite. Dad always said I should gently remind him when he said something uncouth, just like Dad had always done for me. Now, as I read that small little part there, I notice words like I notice words like me, things like that in there that really give me the clue. Hey, I'm listening to this from someone's specific's point of view. So I know I'm reading this from the character's point of view. Just something to consider. If we were reading this in a third person point of view, I wonder if we would know that Liam was a nice kid, but sometimes he forgot to be polite, or that dad always said, I should gently remind him when he said something of uncouth. So those kind of things in there, I wonder if we would learn that about these characters if it was told in third person. Maybe not. When we're reading something in third person, we don't usually learn a lot or in depth the feelings that the characters have because we're learning about all the characters. So when we're reading in first person, which is what this text is written in, when we're reading in first person, we learn in depth the way a character acts, thinks, and feels. So moving on. Okay, so this is, oops, I forgot to change it on my slide right here. This should say third person, not first person. So I made a boo-boo here. I was supposed to change that to third person right in here. Anyway, so this is written in third person, written very differently than the one that I just saw. Just to read you a little bit of what it says here. I'm going to read this paragraph right down here, and I hope that you can see my cursor moving around this paragraph. With so many online news sources, how do you know which ones to trust? There appears to be no one-size-fits-all answer. Some people distrust traditional news organizations, also referred to as mainstream media or MSM, and prefer newer voices. Some people only trust well-established news outlets they're familiar with. Okay, so stepping back into teacher mode now. Notice how we're hearing about information told from two different sides. Some people like this, some people like that. When you're reading first person, you don't generally hear that. You're hearing one person's side of the story. In this paragraph right here, it clearly tells me, this is a huge clue, that this is written in third person. Remember, this is wrong up here. This should say third person. So when I'm reading in third person, I'm listening to the sides of all people. This author is talking to an audience, not talking directly at you. So that's another clue that you can use to help determine whether you're reading in first person or in third person. Okay, moving on. Now you give it a try. So I attached this short little text here. I want you to pause the video, please. I want you to go ahead, read this. And I want you to determine, am I reading in first person or is this being told from third person? So go ahead, pause the video, give it a try now. Okay, so I hope you had a second to go ahead and read and determine which point of view it's being told. Well, in this slide, I'm going to go over all that with you. It was told in first person. That's right. There were clues in the text, I, me, we, things like that, that really gave it away. We're hearing this story from one character's side, one character's point of view. It sounds like this character is talking directly to you in this story. All right, so moving on. What do you need to do with this? Well, today you're going to use the same article, the same story from Common Lit that you used the other day. Sometimes a dream needs a push. So here are your directions. You are going to log into Student Connection and you're going to go to Common Lit the same way you did the other day. Go back into Common Lit and find the article, Sometimes a Dream Needs a Push. Now, I don't know what you can see when you open up Common Lit, so be careful. It may take you back to the assignment where you can go back and reread the text, or you may have to search for it. Sometimes a dream needs a push. You may have to put that in the search box and look for it, but either way, you should be able to find it. Reread the story, and just in your mind, you don't have to write it down, but in your mind, I want you to identify which point of view is the story being told. Is it first person or third person? Then, this is an activity that we've done earlier in the year, so you may recognize this. You're going to choose one event from the story, and you can choose whatever event from the story you'd like. Then on a piece of paper, I want you to retell that event in the story, but I want you to tell it from Dad's point of view. Now, we know we're hearing the story from the child's point of view. This time we want to hear from Dad's point of view, because I think you're going to notice that when you really sit and think about what Dad would have said, what Dad would have done in these situations, the story is going to sound very different than from the child's point of view. So we know we're writing in first person, but we're going to tell it from Dad's point of view now to see just kind of how the story connects or point of view connects with characters' actions, thoughts, and feelings, how important that is. So you're going to write just that specific event in Dad's point of view. Be specific about how the events happened from his perspective. Then all I want you to do is take a quick picture of your work, and you can send it to me through Remind, or you have the option to email it. And if you want to email it to me, this is my email address right down here. I'll get your work. You could take a picture of it and just attach it to the email and send it to me, or you can type all your work into the email, and that's fine too. Any way you want to do it, as long as you get it to me, I am fine with however you want to do that. So that's it for this lesson. And one more slide I just want to go over with you. Some of the parents I know have either deleted the Remind app, or because maybe they didn't feel the need for it, or they want to get onto it because they never signed up for it. Here are directions. If your parents would like to sign up for Remind and they're interested in getting your work to me through the Remind app, here's how they can do it. Very easy, and it's free. All right, boys and girls, I hope everybody's having a great rest of their spring break. I can't wait to get back to teaching you, and I hope everybody's doing well.